It was a dark and stormy night as Mike Johnson sat in his office as Speaker of the House. It wasn't going well for him, and he knew it. He had hitched his radical ponies to a failing man who would be king, and Americans were turning against him and the far-right fascism he was trying to foist on the American people. He had lost his seat and power in November, when an overwhelming majority of American voters had rejected the authoritarian and repressive moves he and other Republicans had made and gave the Democrats a super majority to be seated and in full control of the House of Representatives. As the new Speaker, Hakeem Jeffries directed him to immediately vacate his office. He was reminded of his own pathetic and callous ousting of Nancy Pelosi when the Republicans had taken control. Yes, Mike sat there, now fully aware that payback and justice were always coming for him, and now he had nowhere to hide his shame for his crimes against the American voters. He had tried to rig the elections with gerrymandering, voter suppression, violations of voting and civil rights acts, but the people had fought back, organized, energized, and mobilized, and were now taking back the House of We the People. He had failed, and would now walk the walk of shame as the people of these United States had their retribution for having him call us traitors, Marxists, anti-American, and for his laughing as his failed man who would be king illustrated his disdain for the people with a meme of excrement being dumped on Americans exercising free speech. His head slumped in shame as he knew the dishonor he had brought upon himself and his family as he was escorted out of the people's house into the streets with his boxes placed on the curbs of the Capitol. His pathetic attempt at a coup of democracy had failed. Hello, listeners, and welcome. This is the Boogeyman Report, your official site for news from the left-wing liberal radical Democrats, where each episode we're going to talk about truth, justice, and the American way. Let's get started, shall we? The truth is, America, that the man who would be king, Donald Trump, is having a major meltdown as we speak. After he proclaimed that the big tunnel project connecting New York and New Jersey was terminated to punish Chuck Schumer, Americans immediately realized it as a tyrant's act of retribution. He then continued with a rambling, unhinged batch of lies about the Democrats, failing to acknowledge it was the Republicans that caused the shutdown. All this comes as polls find Trump and the GOP blamed for the economic damage of the shutdown. His economic approval is now down to 42, the worst ever. His standing on inflation at an abysmal 34. His display of mental illness and corruption has long been on full display for the American people. Many of these people who he felt it was necessary to show him pouring sewage on had voted for him. And so, as he continues to alienate, attempt to subjugate, and incite hate in Americans, he is failing. And Putin is not going to be happy with that. All this polling shows why Trump is so keen to start a war with somebody. He dreams of using the War Act to save his office, to extend his dictatorship and his attack on democracy. He has no problem sending our sons, our daughters, our husbands, and our wives into harm's way as nothing more than disposable toy soldiers to try to compensate for his lack of manliness, which he has never had and never will have. All of this, a demented plan to use American military and our loved ones serving as nothing more than disposable pawns and fodder in his pathetic attempt to stay in power. Don, you're a disgusting anti-American, Putin-loving pile of sewage, and we love seeing your life tank in the eyes of real America. And that's the truth. Justice. The Boogeyman's Boogie Justice Award today recognizes its newest recipient, the secret Gestapo police, for shooting their own man during their attack on Carlitos Parias, a TikTok creator with a huge following. Carlitos, who live streams U.S. immigration enforcement operations on social media, remained hospitalized on Wednesday after he was shot and arrested by federal Gestapo agents. The secret police would have you believe that Carlitos tried to ram unmarked cars with his vehicle in an attempt to flee, after being surrounded and boxed in by unknown assailants. In their desire to display some sort of machismo, they shot him in the elbow during the incident, and another federale shot and instead hit a supposed deputy U.S. Marshal in the hand. On his TikTok profile, Parias has been posting videos of federal agents arresting people, along with footage of protests and of the Gestapo causing multiple car collisions as immigration agents become increasingly violent in their tactics and their operations. But shooting your own? Nice work, guys. Now that's justice. Good job, Gestapo. The American Way. Today, I'd like to talk about the American way of coming together as a people. So many times throughout our 250-year history of America, we have been faced with serious challenges that require us to rise up as a nation and act as one people. The First World War, the Second World War, 9/11, Oklahoma City, tornadoes, hurricanes, wildfires, and more. Each time we the people came together against a common enemy and other catastrophes for the good of our country. And today, it seems the American way of many from one is slipping into the cracks of history, led by a man who would be king. The American way is unity against those things that would see our country harmed, both from within and without. Division and hatred are not the American way. These are the enemy of we the people, and we must find a way as one nation to change this destructive vision being set by a man who would be king. The American way is to stand up to treason, hatred, lies, disinformation, and fascist leaders as one from many. Folks, as we sit here today, we have a sitting president illegally attacking other countries in international waters, attempting to blackmail higher education into teaching only the white way of life, stealing from the American people by demanding our own Justice Department hand him hundreds of millions of dollars for his bruised little ego and enriching himself and families, while destroying the White House to create some gilded cage for himself and his cronies, as we the people suffer through a shutdown, and he laughs and fantasizes about pooping from above on the American people. Donald John Trump doesn't care about the American way. He only cares to please his handler Putin, enrich his own corrupt family, and attempt to replicate the grand palaces that other corrupt leaders live in while their people starve, i.e., let them eat cake. The American way is to vote this fool, this traitor, to the Constitution out of office, along with every one of his corrupt cronies in Congress. It seems that only Marjorie Taylor Greene is having a real come-to-Jesus moment as she realizes the Republican Party and the man who would be king are actually lying to the American people and will be singularly responsible for their own defeats in November and beyond, all because of the pernicious hatred of American democracy. Folks, the American way is to energize and let the puppet of Vlad Putin and his corrupt oligarchs in waiting know that it is we the people who define the American way, and we're not having what you're selling. As I say goodbye, I want to thank you for taking the time to stop by and take a listen. It's important that we the people continue to drown out the political noise so full of hate and false divisions and start listening to the people that mean the most to us in our lives, each other. It is time we push back together as one America, and I want to help that happen with truth, justice, and the American way. And I promise you this, I will never stop trying to save American democracy and fighting the fight against evil in the government, even if we don't agree. That's the American way. Until next time, peace out from just another left-wing liberal radical Democrat. And please, don't forget to click subscribe and tell 2 friends so you never miss an episode of The Boogeyman Report.